On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we're talking about how Bo Nix played with a broken back through the season and just how much did it impact him? What does that mean for him moving forward? Plus, we're looking at the rest of locker room clean out yesterday and hearing from a lot of players. You don't want to miss this show, and it all starts now. Henry, we might have a new nickname for Bo Nix.
Really?
Broken Back Bo.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, okay.
Nope.
Tough SOB Bo?
I don't think we need a nickname.
No?
I think it's just Bo.
No, what?
Just Bo.
I think Bad MF Bo? I think, man, what he did
What
this
about
season.
Bowler? Like baller, but
Bowler?
bowler?
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
I like that. And man, Bo Nix proved that he is unbelievably tough, and we're going to talk about it on the DNVR Broncos podcast. And shout out to the Toyota chat already popping off right now. If you got any nicknames for how tough Bo is, drop them in there. We'll see if Henry can get on board with any of them. And of course, we are the DNVR Broncos podcast live from the Toyota Lounge, presented by your local Front Range Toyota stores. And of course, we are presented by Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. Still a lot of games to get in on, whether it's the NFL, college, one more college game, NBA, NHL, Avs, Nuggets, all of that over at Bet365. And if you use the code DNVR365, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 bet after depositing $10. And big show today, Henry. How you doing?
Oh, good. Season's over. I'm still tired. I'm hoping that like in a couple weeks I'll just feel like refreshed.
Yeah.
But no, work season kind of goes on for like the rest of this week, and then next week things get a little bit more relaxed.
100%. I totally feel how you're feeling. In fact, I told the bosses, because they're like, okay, let's start working on their stuff, and I'm like, okay, it's still like a week until the season's really over from our perspective, because yesterday, Henry, we were both in the Broncos locker room for locker room clean out, and I gotta say, the vibe was not what I was expecting, and we'll talk about that later in the show after we talk to Bo. I'm curious what your vibe was in the locker room, and then tomorrow we're likely going to hear from George Paton, Sean Payton, and potentially even Greg Penner as well. A lot of questions there from Sean reacting after watching the film of the playoff game, to George Paton talking about the roster and where it needs to go moving forward, and then also Greg Penner talking about the Broncos maybe being the Lone Tree Broncos and building a stadium out in Lone Tree, potentially. They're also looking at spots in Denver. So big show the rest of the week as well, where we continue to react to that. But Henry, right now we are reacting. You guys kind of wrapped up the game yesterday, so we'll continue to touch on it throughout the week. But we're reacting to what we found out yesterday when Bo Nix dropped a bomb on us yesterday, told us that he played with a broken back for part of the season. And before we dive into it, let's just hear from Bo Nix himself. So how this question was presented and how it got brought up was he was asked by Mike Kliss, long 17, 18-week season. You were able to play through the whole thing. How's your body feel? And oh, by the way, what was that back injury that you had against the Raiders? Because he popped up on the injury report, and here's what Bo had to say.
The Vegas week was just, I had a little, transverse process fracture in my back. But that week got treatment and kind of made it through to that week. Monday Night Football, it was a stretch that we were all kind of banged up. And, I wasn't going to miss the first Monday night game. So I got treatment on it, and then we were fortunate to have an off week that next week. And, kind of went away after that. But for that moment, it was, annoying, but we all play with it.
It was the Raiders game at the Raiders?
Yeah, got, twisted up a little bit, had 3 process fractures, but a lot of guys play with a lot of those kind of things. The Vegas week was.
I've never heard of someone be so casual about saying, yeah, I have a broken back. He's like, yeah, I just
That's
had
football.
three transverse process fractures. I'm like, what the hell is that? And so, Henry, I did some digging, and what happened to Bo was he fractured the L1, L2, and L3 vertebrae. So those were the 3 fractures that he had. And the transverse process fracture is essentially, I'm no doctor here, so don't take me for my word from this, but just talking to people in the Broncos organization, what that is he broke the wings of your vertebrae there, and he did it in 3 different spots. So he literally had broken his back in 3 different places.
Yeah. Yeah, as he said, like that's football. And typically these are things you never find out about. Like if Bo hadn't said that, maybe we find out that it happened, and like if he's good enough to have a book written about him in 20 years, we find out, oh, that's a thing that happened. But yeah, I mean, anytime somebody pops up on the injury report and it's like, oh, his back hurts, it's like there's a good chance it's this. Or like anytime he pops up and it's whatever else, like it's not just like, oh, he's feeling a little sore. It's like, yeah, there's a real issue. It's like in hockey where after the season half the team just goes and gets a surgery, and like you had no idea all along that like this guy's shoulder was so messed up he couldn't pick it up past here.
But on your back?
It hurts. It hurts.
Is crazy. And now there are some people out there, Henry, I've seen it. So some veteran NFL players that are that no longer play. It's not like from in the Broncos locker room. That's not what I'm saying. But that are criticizing the Broncos and saying that they need to hold Bo back.
No.
When he is injured, specifically when it's a broken back and there's multiple things in his back that are broken and fractured, that they need to hold him back. And that the Broncos need to save Bo from himself. And I don't know. I think I think that obviously he was fine enough to play, and we'll talk about that in a second. He performed really well after the injury. But this is also something where, man, in the NFL you don't have much time, and I think it was important for Bo himself to show his team, like, yeah, I'm one tough sucker, and I'm going to be there for you guys. And he didn't miss a single snap, which shows how unbelievably tough he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not it'd be different if it was something that could get worse. But like, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's like not a serious injury, because yeah, you broke a bone in your back, but it's not something where like, oh, if you keep playing, like whatever could happen. It heals on its own, and in like 2 weeks, it's probably fixed. He said his was about 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes like a month. All it is just pain tolerance. Like if you can handle that, it's really, really, really going to hurt just anything you do, then yeah, go play. And a lot of guys couldn't. You know, remember Cam Newton had a car wreck back in the day? That was the transverse process fracture, and he missed a game. Derek Carr is soft. He missed 2 games when he played for the Raiders.
Keep them coming.
Tony Romo got hit and he just had it like shot up and kept playing, but he missed the next game. Back in the day. Matthew Stafford played through it in 2018, but then missed time when it happened again in 2019. CJ McCollum missed a game in the NBA. Mike Conley missed 2 weeks. CJ McCollum, so he only missed 1 game, and it was the last game before the playoffs. So he was back like 4 days later playing the playoffs. Adam Thielen, similar thing. That game, the Vikings-Saints playoff game, happened to him in that game when Lattimore hit him. Again, you have it shot up, and then you play through it, and he played the next week too. So it's one of those things where it just really, really hurts. And in a situation like the playoffs, you just have to play through it. If it's not the playoffs, then it's kind of like a choice thing. And for Bo, being in the situation he's in, again, like it's a Monday Night Football game, you're trying to go win games. It's just not a game that you're going to miss.
I think what you just explained, though, is that a lot of other players do miss time.
Yeah, I mean,
while
it's a
dealing
choice.
with this injury. And Bo showed that he's built different. Built different, Bo? You like that?
No. He's just Bo. He has a name. He's not built different.
The Toyota chat has been dropping some good ones there in there, so keep them coming. Really like it. We'll see if Henry can be convinced by the end of this show. We still got 50 more minutes to see if he can be convinced on a nickname. And I really do think that this just gives an extra notch to Bo, and especially what it shows to his teammates. Like, I'm going to be there. Like, there's a lot of guys that play through injuries, but the quarterback position typically treated a little bit more delicately. And, I mean, you kind of mentioned it there. Derek Carr missed a couple of games. I'm sure if you looked at non-quarterbacks, there's players that have this injury and play through it.
I would guess quarterbacks play through more. Like, those are the tough guys who need to be at, like you can take like a DB and say, like, you're missing time. Or like Jabril Peppers, he missed a month. I think when it's a quarterback, those are the guys who play through. Like, Tom Brady's not missing a game. You know, Peyton Manning's not missing a game. I don't know. I'd be curious. The thing is,
I would disagree.
It's so hard to hear. You rarely hear about the guys who play through it because it just never comes out unless you say that it happened.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no reporting. Bo decided to say that it happened.
Yeah.
That's where, like, again, Matthew Stafford, it came out because it happened again the next year and he missed time. And it's like, oh, yeah, this happened last year. Otherwise, nobody would have ever known. So that's what makes it kind of tough to say, like, who plays through it and who doesn't.
But you just read me a lot of guys and they don't play through it.
Yeah,
the quarterback
definitely.
Position. Yeah,
definitely.
So not only did he play through it, Henry, he played pretty darn well.
Okay,
you're questioning.
Okay,
Well, let's dive into the numbers. But before we dive into the numbers, want to give a shout out to a really cool thing that's going on over at Toyota. So get ready for this. Toyota is bringing the Super Bowl experience to all 30 NFL cities across the country. And get ready for the Verizon Super Bowl Fan Fest. And what this is it's a really cool event that they are hosting at Empower Field at Mile High on Super Bowl Sunday. And if you want to go, all you have to do is be a Verizon customer, and it's free for all Verizon customers. And how does it sound to watch the game at Empower Field at Mile High? The Super Bowl, you get to watch inside the stadium, and you get to hang out with NFL legends, including Super Bowl 50 champion Emmanuel Sanders. They're going to have live music. They're going to have Miles the mascot. They're going to be upgraded eats from local Denver chefs. You get to tour the locker room, try your hand at college or at football challenges, lawn games, and more. And of course, you get to watch the Super Bowl inside the stadium with Broncos legends. What an awesome time. And again, all you have to do to go is be a Verizon customer, and you can still switch now, be a Verizon customer, and go to this. So switch at your local Verizon stores to grab tickets, and all the details over at VerizonFanFest.com.
And check out Ice Shaker, too. We've got a couple here. I'm not sure where they are, actually, but yeah, they're awesome. They're made by the Gronkowskis, which is a fun perk. Remember, one of those Gronkowskis was the Broncos, so we can support them. You can check them out at iceshaker.com. The way it works is they're stainless steel bottles. You put whatever you need in there, some protein powder. You shake it all up, and that's what they're built for. And they've sold over 1 million of them. They're the highest quality that you're going to find. All sorts of perks. They hold ice for more than 30 hours. They're customizable. They also have licensing with the NFL and other leagues so that you can get like a nice Broncos ice shaker, for example. They're really nice, well built. Great reviews, and if you want to order your team branded bottle today at iceshaker.com, you can use the code ALLCITY25 for 25% off your order. Ice Shakers, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up to get $150 in bonus bets. Okay, so Henry, let's talk about what happened after he suffered this injury. So he suffered it, and so this was the second time the Broncos played the Raiders. It was in Las Vegas, Week 12. He suffered the injury in the first half. In the second half of that game, he threw his only 2 touchdowns of that game. He went 15 of 25 for 144 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Broncos win 29-19 in Las Vegas to beat the Raiders for the first time in Vegas. I'd say that's a pretty good half, especially with a broken back.
I mean, these Bo Nix.
That's on pace for 288 passing yards and 4 touchdowns.
It's solid.
Okay. So
I don't need to rehash all this. No, it's a good game. Good job, Bo.
Okay. I don't feel like that's what you're actually saying, but then the next game, so Monday Night Football, he has 8 days to rest before Monday Night Football. And Bo Nix goes out, throws for 294 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions in that game, but helps the Broncos put up a season-high 41 points. And, of course, that was a Jerry Jeudy game. That's when the Broncos got a big touchdown. Then Jerry Jeudy goes for, an 80-yard touchdown the very next play. And we all know how that one went. Broncos win the game, and he played that entire game dealing with this injury.
Yeah. Again, it's a tough one to grade. I mean, the fact that he made that Marvin Mims throw, the 94, that's the big one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would have been a pretty rough game. Completed 51% of his passes, threw a couple picks. But yeah, I mean, it was a solid. It all balances out, I think, to a pretty solid performance.
And I think one of the things that we really saw in those 6 quarters was Bo was not running the ball. Not a surprise. And if I'm Sean Payton, I'm definitely protecting Bo from himself right now and saying, no, you are not running. And that second half against the Raiders didn't run the ball a single time. That's smart. That's what should have been done. And then, like you said, Henry, Bo had the bye week. Broncos had the bye week. When he came back from the bye week, he was feeling pretty darn good. I'm told now that he is 100%. So
absolutely.
The Toyota chat is giving all the love for Bo, saying, man, I hope you feel better by next season. He already feels
been
fine
now.
For
a month, yeah.
So there's nothing to worry about. This is not a long-term injury, and you don't have to worry about it. But let's see some more details about this here. One of the reasons why Bo wanted to play is first Monday Night Football game. He wanted to play in that. But then also, remember, Henry, this was right in the middle of the Broncos' 4-game win streak. The week going into the Raiders week, they had won 1 game. They beat the Raiders. They were on a 2-game win streak. Beat the Browns on a 3-game win streak. Then coming back from the bye, they beat the Colts on that 4-game win streak. It was a really crucial stretch of the season when the Broncos went from a 500 team to then a 9-5 team. Essentially there. So it was a crucial part of the season. He didn't want to step away. And credit to him, he didn't at all.
Yeah, no. I mean, that comes with the job. You if you're a starting quarterback, you've got to play through things. And he checked that box, and credit to him for doing it. But yeah, it's important. I think it's just stuff that happens all the time. Like, guys play through things.
It's fractured back?
It is. But again, it's not something that changes like you sprain your ankle, it hurts, and if you try to walk on it, it's all loosey. You know, you can't step, you can't plant. Like, you break your arm, all of a sudden your arm's like dangling. It really hurts to play with it, but also, like, you're not catching a pass because your arm could go any which direction depending, you know?
Yeah.
With this, it literally is just pain tolerance. And so it's one of those things that you just kind of have to do. And like, Quinn Meinerz playing through the plantar fasciitis. It's not a big story. He's not a quarterback. I think, like, you go through to...
It's not a fractured back.
No, but again, like, it just really, really hurts, and you get your shots, and, like, it's not something that gets worse. It's just something that heals on its own. It just hurts. I think too few of these stories get out for people to understand how common this sort of thing is. Because I'd be willing to bet... I won't say multiple. I'll say at least one other player on the team had this exact same thing happen. Probably multiple, and they probably played through it because that's just a thing that happens. I mean, one of Lexi's friends, her dad played center in the NFL. I think last year had his 90-something surgery.
Yeah,
like there's just
brutal.
There are so many of these things that happen over and over and over that it just kind of comes with the territory. Like you take the shots, you take the pills, and you go through it. I was talking to somebody else, not a Broncos player, a tight end though, who the team gave him. It's a pill. It's for chronic pain, and so you're supposed to take it once a month. He was told to take it twice a day. Again, because the team tells you have to do this. You have to, like, this is what you're doing because we need you to play through it. It's what you do. So it's not to minimize it, but like, this is the NFL. Everybody, it's not like, oh, you woke up a little bit sore. It's not that kind of everybody hurts. It's things are seriously wrong, and you're going to go and have them surgically repaired, but the story just doesn't come out,
But you literally just said how other quarterbacks have not played through
there's
this
some
injury.
who haven't.
So
there's
I do
some
think
who
it's
haven't.
significant.
Yeah, and I think it's soft. Certainly it's significant.
You think it's soft?
It's soft to not play through it.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're an NFL quarterback, it's your job to show up and do it. Like, I don't know. It's great that Bo did it, and it's great to know he's that guy, but That's just one of those boxes that has to be checked. Like Tom Brady playing through the broken ribs. That's something that he did. I'm sure Peyton played through things too. I mean, he played through the beginning of the plantar fasciitis for sure before eventually they put Brock in. But it kind of comes with the territory is that things are really, really, really going to hurt, and you're just going to have to take a bunch of shots and deal with it.
Or if you're this type of tough, can put you in that Tom Brady category as opposed to the Derek Carr category.
That's
soft.
That's the box you need to check. You don't want to be a Derek Carr. You don't want to be a Cam Newton. You don't want to be a Tony Romo. Stafford, again, played through it once, didn't play through it the second time. And they're not all the exact same. Like I said, some take a month to heal, some take two weeks to heal. So it's tough to gauge, but yeah, I'd say you'd better be doing that if you're going to be the quarterback of the Broncos.
So, and Henry, I think the box that it checks that I think we can both agree on here is it checks a he can be special box right there. And that is huge news for Broncos fans, Broncos country inside the building, because what you don't want, especially with the most important position in sports, especially when you invested a first-round draft pick in this person, especially when you're probably going to invest a couple $100 million contract into him, is you don't want to have to convince him to play. You want to have to hold him back from playing. And clearly this was not a situation where the Broncos had to hold him back. It was okay. It was just a pain tolerance thing. But there are some players. You ran through them some. There's been other players, not just with the Broncos, but in the Denver community where teams have been like, yeah, you're good to go. And the player says, no, I'm not. I don't want to play. You can't have that from your star quarterback. And Bo Nix proved that as a rookie. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. But I think also Russell Wilson played through a torn lat while he was here. People just don't like him, so they didn't care and rally around it, Like, it's one of those things where it's like when Bo Nix does it, it's like, oh, look, Bo Nix did it. Whereas when Russell Wilson did it, it was like, no, you just sucked.
No, I think that's a torn lat compared to a broken back.
It hurts, though. And, like, that actually impacts how you play, You
don't think a broken back
It literally doesn't. Like, the pain might. The pain, if you can't tolerate the pain.
The pain's a big deal.
Exactly. But, again, like, it's not connected to anything. Like, it's not, it doesn't get worse. It doesn't, like it's going to really hurt when you throw the football.
It's gonna hurt when you sit down, when you walk, when you do anything.
But it's not like your shoulder isn't stable when you're trying to throw a football. Like with the torn lat, like it's just.
But wait,
it doesn't change anything mechanically. It just hurts.
Twisting when you throw the ball, like
that's
that takes back muscles.
It hurts, but it doesn't.
I'm just wondering
nothing changes mechanically with it. Which is why this is just a test of like, are you tough or are you not? And Bo Nix checked the tough notch.
Yep,
tough notch. Which like again, I probably wouldn't. Like, because I'm not tough.
I don't know.
That's one of the reasons I'm not in the NFL.
You podcasted with a broken toe.
I did. Yeah.
That can be tough. You play through the pain.
Yeah.
And so we'll just put that conversation there. I think we both talked about it enough, and maybe just have to agree to disagree just about how what this means or how intense it was. But yeah, that came out of nowhere yesterday. Good question by Mike to get the answer out there, and Bo just very casually dropped it there. I think one thing that it could impact moving forward is maybe Bo is more mobile than he was at the end of the season. Moving forward, we saw him honestly be just as good of a runner as Jaden Daniels the first 2 months of the season, and then that kind of dropped off. It dropped off before this injury, so it wasn't this injury that caused him to stop being mobile and stop running. But obviously, this injury completely put the mobility down for a couple of weeks. The Broncos did not run Bo Nix at all this past game in terms of designed runs like we all kind of thought was going to happen. Maybe that played a little part of it. I'm not exactly sure, but I do expect Bo to be a little more mobile than he was the second half of the season next season. So I think that's really good news for Broncos is I think that could happen.
Yeah, no, definitely. Sorry, the people in the chat. I can't get this again. John, I love you. Totally unimpressive when risking future. You're not risking your future. It can't get any worse. Like you could break another one on the other side, but like it can't get worse. It's not tied to anything that could get like you play with the sprained ankle, you could tear up more of those ligaments. They're vulnerable. Like there's no risk. It just really, really hurts.
Yeah.
And again, credit to him for that.
Yeah. Credit to him for that. Okay. Anything else that you want to touch on before we move on?
I really hope Todd's back gets better. Not our Todd in the chat.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Todd in the chat. Shout out to the to everyone tuning in with the Toyota chat right now. If you're tuning in, hit us with a thumbs up. Let us know what you think of Bo's injury. And let us also know if you have any nicknames for Bo. If you see any nicknames, why don't you pin them and we can hit them before the show ends. And before we move on, because Henry, I mentioned at the start of the show that I thought there was a very interesting dynamic in the locker room yesterday, and you kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? So I want to know what you think the dynamic was in the locker room, and I want to tell you guys what I thought of that. But before we do that, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Bet365. Henry, the wild card round is done. On to the divisional round, and lines are already set over at Bet365. The closest game of the weekend, according to Bet365, Ravens at Bills. Bills are a 1-point favorite in this game. I think that's the game of the weekend, without a doubt. The game with the biggest spread is the Commanders at the Lions. Lions have now already creeped up over at Bet365 to 9.5. I believe it opened around 8.5. Now it's at 9.5. So get in on that action if you want over at Bet365 now before odds continue to change. And I mean, you want to get in on Nuggets, you want to get in on Avs, you want to get on futures, Broncos. They've got it all over at Bet365. And literally they have it all because they're all about the unordinary. They've got everything that you could handle over at Bet365. And so if you want to check them out, use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, once help, caller text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Also, check out Game Time if you're trying to get... I saw that I think the Lions game this weekend is more expensive than getting into all the other games combined.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't know why the other tickets are cheap. Like the tickets in Buffalo are cheap. People just aren't into playoff football anymore, I guess, which is, yeah. Also, if you're in Denver and you're not trying to get to playoff football games, the Rangers are in town tonight. You can get in for $36. Tomorrow, the Houston Rockets are here. You can get in for $20. There's all sorts of stuff. I mean, any event you can think of. Metallica is going to be here this summer, under $100. Justin Timberlake, I didn't know people wanted to see him, under $100. Whole bunch of people I haven't heard of.
Justin Timberlake for under $100.
How much you think it costs to see Zach Top?
I don't know who Zach Top is.
I've never heard of this guy before.
Country?
$380.
Yeah.
Never heard of him before.
Country's got a crowd, man.
That's weird to me. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
And shout out to everyone that's tuning in with us. We really appreciate it. The offseason is just getting started. As Henry and I kind of said at the beginning of the show, really hasn't even started because we're still going to get more news out tomorrow. Vance Joseph is interviewing for jobs, so there could still be a lot of news kind of wrapping up this season before we start moving on to next season. So you're definitely going to want to stay tuned with us. And, of course, we're going to talk about Vance and what are the chances that he's back with the Broncos, what are the chances he leaves. We're also going to dive into the Broncos free agents. A lot of guys walked out of that locker room, Henry, for the last time ever yesterday. Who are those guys? We're going to get into that conversation. But before we do that, let's stick with yesterday. The guys that were inside that locker room, Henry. And when I teased this earlier, I had no idea what the vibe in the locker room was going to be. This was the first time in my 9 years of covering the team that I have covered an open or a locker cleanout room the day after a playoff game. First time ever. Every other time, the Broncos have known what their future and their fate was going to be going into the last game of the season. So locker cleanout that following Monday after the last game of the season is just another day. It's not sad. It's not happy. It's just like, all right, we're done. We kind of knew this was coming for a month now. You know, we were 5-10 with one game left in the season, so we weren't concerned about this last game, and it's all happy-go-lucky from there. Yesterday, I had no idea. After getting beat by 24 points in their first playoff game in nearly a decade, I was not surprised, but the vibe that I got in the locker room from everyone that I was around was, man, what a season. And it was I don't want to say happy, but it was a very optimistic locker room. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's exactly how this team should be feeling. Mm-hmm. But I had no idea if I was going to walk into a locker room that was super down and depressed or optimistic. And it took the optimistic route, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it just depended on who it was. Zach Allen and DJ Jones were pretty somber.
Yeah, that's true.
Very somber. Pat was happy as normal. Bo is always kind of the exact same. Quinn was kind of somewhere in between. He kind of was up and down.
For me,
yeah, it just kind of depended.
For me, where it really tilted to the optimism was Garrett Bolles. We know that Garrett Bolles, he can be
I didn't hear him.
Down as down as possible. He can also be as high as possible as well. And yesterday, I had no idea what type of Garrett Bolles we were getting with the new haircut. Do you see the new haircut?
Yeah.
It's dyed.
It's bad.
Bleach blonde.
It is bad.
And it's cut. Interesting. And he was about as optimistic as he can be, and I understand why. He just made the playoffs for the first time. Now, it didn't go their way, but still, the first time for a playoffs, this team is certainly trending up. And honestly, I loved what Quinn Meinerz had to say about just what this season was and what it meant to him. Do we have the Quinn Meinerz one? I don't. Yes, we do. Do you mind if we play it here? Because I really loved what he said about what this season did for the team moving forward.
I mean, it was life-changing and generational wealth at the beginning of the season. I felt like I was continuing to get better every single week. Overcoming mental hurdles with the contract and stuff like that. Played one of my best seasons, and it turned out to be viewed as the best season by a right guard, which is an incredible individual honor. And I'm proud of myself, proud of the work. I appreciate how much my wife has done this year to help me, be at my best every single week. 10 games is great, being in the playoffs is great, but this team can be much more than a 7 seed.
Oh, no. Thank you, Todd, for pointing that out, that I was muted. But what I said was it's crazy to think what this past 8 months has been for Quinn Meinerz. As he said, he got generational wealth, signed a massive life-changing deal. Then he goes out, becomes an All-Pro, is the best right guard in the NFL, first-team All-Pro. Then he helps his team get to the playoffs and be the 7th seed. But then I loved what he said at the end. He said, the 7th seed, we should never be there anymore. This is the floor now. Now we need to move from here on out.
Yeah. I mean, he's also talked a lot about how hard this season was, because he said he didn't expect it to be voted team captain, and there was some pressure that came along with that he didn't expect. And same thing with getting all that money. It sounded like he was in a pretty dark place, but talked to some psychologists and stuff, and kind of got things figured out after a tough start to the year, and kind of obviously had a great finish to the year, because that's the only way you wind up being the best right guard in the NFL.
Honestly, Henry, that point right there might make his season even more impressive. Is the offensive line did start slow this season. We all know Bo started slow, didn't throw a touchdown pass until week 3, but the offensive line wasn't their best, and yet it's still now viewed as one of the best offensive lines in the NFL after the season because of how well they played down the stretch. I mean, really the next 15 games of the season, and Quinn specifically was the leader of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious what the numbers were at the beginning, because it's just interesting because we see it and we say wow, Quinn's not making these blocks that we're used to seeing him make. He's letting guys by when not used to. And to kind of, at the end of the year, hear what he thought of all that and how hard all that was on him. Just cool to bounce back and bounce back so well that he's number one.
Yeah, exactly. And now the Broncos, they signed him to $18 million per season. And that's going to be a bargain because he could have got 20, 22, 23 million even perhaps. And they still have him under contract for 4 more years now. I believe the extension hasn't even really started yet, kicks in this coming season. So good for Quinn, good for the Broncos. Let's talk about another guy that had a very difficult season, Henry, and that's Alex Singleton. Broncos lose him in week 3. Of course, let's go back to that. He tears his ACL and plays the rest of the game. You talk about toughness. Bo and Alex displayed toughness this year. And then Alex, I asked him at the end of his press conference, I asked him, so what's this recovery been like? And has it been easier, tougher than you expected? And he said, this has been the worst thing in my life. He said, this is so unbelievably difficult. It's awful. It's terrible from a physical, from a mental perspective. But Alex is really looking to get back. He should be 100% by next season, by training camp, if not even before. And he touched on where he is in his recovery process. Let's hear from Alex in the locker room yesterday.
I mean, personally, it's been the hardest year of, my life. But, just as a leader and a guy in the locker room, it was really enjoyable to see the guys step up, obviously my room play the way they did, and then just the defense and the team as a whole. It was special. I know it's, a good year to build upon.
Was it hard to watch, for instance, the Buffalo game, knowing I could have helped, because you always feel like you could help your guys?
Yeah, that's any game. You feel like you can do something, but just standing there on the sideline watching the game is one thing. Being in it and doing it is another. So it's always hindsight.
How is your recovery coming, and where are you right now physically?
Good. It's coming along really well. I'm where I should be at. I'm 13 weeks tomorrow, so I'm exactly where I should be to be able to, be 100% for next season.
And Henry, I put out a photo of Alex Singleton just watching practice last week, and so many people responded to me saying, he's not wearing a brace? This is awesome. And Alex told me, he hasn't been wearing a brace since the second week after his injury. So he really is moving well. He's feeling well. And this is someone where the Broncos really missed him this past Sunday in the run defense.
Yeah, no, those 2 games he played, he was really good. And the guys behind him just were never able to do what he did, which isn't really a surprise.
No, it's not a surprise. But at first, that Jets game, was that Singleton's first game that he missed, that he was out due to the injury. You saw Justin Strnad blitz, get a sack. Then we saw Drew Sanders in the exact same situation against the Chargers many weeks later. Blitz, get a sack from that inside spot. And it's like, man, maybe the Broncos do have guys here. And now, while I think Strnad proved he's a really good backup and can definitely play in the NFL if called upon. And who knows about Drew, honestly. We didn't see enough from him this season. And then Cody Barton can play as well. But the Broncos have to have a dude there. And that can be Alex Singleton. And that's why his health is so key this season, because they need him in that run game, because the Broncos have guys on the defensive line that can be good enough, and those guys didn't play well enough this past Sunday, but they need someone at inside linebacker, whether it's Singleton, whether it's someone else, whether it's a combo of both. They have to have them, and I think that Singleton is the guy that can step up and be that guy that they need.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it all plays out, because, I mean, again, they save $6 million if they move on for him. His salary this year isn't guaranteed. And I don't know who you could go get that's better. And just for example, Josie last year got 6.2 per year. Bobby Wagner got 6.5. Levante David got 8.5. Patrick Queen got 13.6. And then below that, Jordan Hicks got 4. Devin White got 4. Willie Gay got 3. Eric Kendricks got 3. So I think 6 is probably pretty fair. Yeah. And I'd imagine they'll bring him back. But with him in that situation, as I think he'll be 32 starting next year and coming off a torn ACL, that's a big question mark. Like, we all like Alex and hope that it all works out well, but that's just the nature of being at that age with that injury at that position, where guys don't always age the best, and then you lose Justin Sternad and Cody Barton. I have no idea who's going to be playing linebacker for the Broncos next year.
Yeah, I don't either. And this is a team that has not invested in the inside linebacker position in the draft at all. The most they've ever done, you have to go back before George Payton was even here. Josie Jewell, 4th-round pick. That's the most they've done since... Is it since Al Wilson?
No. Because you had Nate Irving.
And he was a 2nd or 3rd rounder.
Yep,
you're right there.
Did they get... Where was he from? He was North Carolina. I thought they had somebody from Miami. He was 3rd round. Nate Irving was.
DJ Williams?
That's not who I was thinking of, but he would have been before.
He would have fit both those things.
I can't remember who that was.
But I mean, regardless,
the
point is, it is rare for this team to invest there. And even with Sean Payton in the fold, they have not invested at that spot. In terms of the inside linebacker position, TB007 says Baron Browning technically, and Drew Sanders as well. But Danny Trevathan was a 3rd-round guy, though. He was
he 3rd?
5th round.
Yeah.
Day 3 guy, I'm sorry. I just... would be surprised to see them go that direction in terms of with the top pick this year, especially with Sean probably wanting some more juice on the offense. We've seen someone in the Toyota chat already mention Tyler Warren out of Penn State. I think he would be an awesome pick. Broncos pick number 20 this year. Don't know if he falls that far. We'll also get into the draft stuff very soon as well. Wesley Woodyard was a day 3 pick as well. So behind there, I like all these names you guys are throwing out. I'm not saying the Broncos haven't had good inside linebacker play. I'm just saying they have not invested a high draft pick in there. Yeah, Todd knows they haven't invested a high draft pick in that position. But they have been willing to pay guys like Todd $5 million a year, guys like Josie Jewell $5 million a year, guys like Alex Singleton $6 million a year. But Henry, it's interesting, coming off the ACL, I think what could happen, and for Alex's case, I hope this is not the case, but I could see the Broncos saying, hey, what about come back for $3 million and we'll guarantee it all. But there could be some funny business there, and we'll continue to follow that. But let's dive back in to the Broncos locker room from yesterday. And before we do that, want to give a shout out to our friends over at... Live Well. We're over at Live Well. If you want to live well, you can check out our friends over at Live Well, where they've got 25 convenient Colorado dispensary locations with premium selection and expert service that awaits you. Their knowledgeable, supportive staff are here to help on your journey. Visit a Live Well dispensary to learn more about their wide selection of cannabis flower, edibles, concentrates, and more. Live Well proudly offers a price match guarantee and ensuring you get the best value by matching local competitors' prices on eligible products. And you can get 25% off one regular priced item if you go in the store and mention the code DNVR. If you order online over at livewell.com, when you pick it up in store, mention the code DNVR25, and they're still going to give you that 25% off. You just can't do it online. So when you go in to pick it up, mention DNVR25, and they're going to give you the 25% off one regular priced item. They've got it all over at livewell.com or at one of their 25 convenient Colorado stores. Check them out. Use that code DNVR25 in store to get 25% off one regular priced item. Restrictions apply.
And shout out to Toyota. We're here in the Toyota Lounge, and Toyotas are great, especially this time of year. Their trucks, because trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA. For generations, Toyota has built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you, like the all-new 2024 Tacoma and the 2024 Land Cruiser. They've got 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner. They also have more low and zero emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. There are 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Toyota SUVs take command on the road and on the trail, so you can experience the road less traveled. You visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. The Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota and Boulder, Groove Toyota and Littleton, Mountain States Toyota and Denver, Stevenson Toyota East and Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West and Lakewood. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL, official vehicle of DNVR.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365 when you sign up to get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. Okay, Henry, let's hear more from the locker room, and let's go back to QB1. Carry my team on the back, Bo Nix. What do you think of that nickname?
No nicknames.
Carry the team on my back so much that it breaks my back, Bo Nix. No.
What was Tom Brady's nickname?
TB12.
Yeah, and isn't that lame?
He had a
Everybody
nickname.
just calls him Tom Brady.
No, people call him.
Nobody does that. Nobody in conversation has been like, yeah, TB12 had a great game.
I think it was such a good nickname that he sold the company for like hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's the company though. But like Peyton Manning,
because
people rarely call him the sheriff because Peyton Manning just carries more weight. Like
they call him the GOAT. That's Peyton's nickname.
It's so like if you were to say who was the quarterback before Trevor Siemian, nobody's gonna say the sheriff or the GOAT. They just say Peyton Manning.
You'd say P Money.
No, everybody would just say Peyton Manning. Sometimes the name is
PF. Yeah, honestly, yeah, you're spot on. You hear PFM there.
I don't think so.
Here, have we got any people chiming in with nicknames? Okay, so we will hit those at the end of the show. But let's get back to Bo Nix. Is that better, Henry?
Yeah,
let's hear from Bo Nix, the shortest name in NFL history, on where he felt he improved the most throughout this season. Bo, tell us where.
Definitely just the huddle operation and getting calls in, and whether it's changing a call mid huddle, getting guys orchestrated, get them lined up, and make sure we're all running the same thing. Breaking the huddle, cadence, the whole process of the pre-snap that's different from college. I think as each game went on, I felt more and more comfortable with that and got better at it.
And that's kind of the expected part for a rookie. And I think we saw that as the season went on too. There was one more clip that we don't have right now. What? You got
I'm just excited to ask Todd.
About what?
Oh, just what who's the quarterback when he won the Super Bowl?
Oh, what he says is P. He calls him P.
We'll see.
Todd calls Peyton P.
We'll see what he says.
Well, for a show, he's going to say the full name.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask him off camera.
Because this is very professional. So
yeah, that's so true.
What if we just call him Bo Toyota Nix because he's Toyota tough?
I think that'd be illegal.
Oh, built Toyota tough. Toyota Nix. Bo Toyota. The Bo Forerunner.
The Boyota.
The Boyota. There we go. Speaking of nicknames, someone in here properly pointed out Peyton Manning's nickname is, of course, Peyton Manning. Peyton. Like Peyton, like the commercial.
You got to include Manning. The N. Peyton.
Peyton Manning.
Yeah, you were just saying Peyton.
Peyton Manning.
There we go.
It's also debated Manning.
Exactly.
It's what?
Debated Manning.
Okay.
What's debated Manning?
You haven't seen that commercial where he debates the kids?
No.
But you have seen Peyton Manning.
See, there's so many nicknames. It's hard to ignore. But there was one more thing that Bo said, which maybe we'll pull up a different day throughout this week. And he says that he was asked what Sean Payton's meant to him. And he said, man, Sean gave me my first chance. He's meant everything to me. And a very interesting thing he said, he has never thrown me under the bus. And always had my back. And that's obviously been very intentional from Sean. But boy, the first thing I thought was how Russell Wilson's feeling with that comment. Russell's probably like, what the heck? That's all he did was throw me under the bus and continue to just run me over time and time again. And obviously we've talked about it throughout the entire season, how Sean took the complete opposite approach when it came to Bo Nix and always had his back. Never once threw him under the bus.
Yes. Sean acted like an adult. That's it was a big year for him.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, am I wrong?
I don't know, just the difference.
Yeah.
Drastic difference? Is
Drastic.
the word?
Drastic.
Drastic
There we
difference
go.
from one year to the other about how Sean talked about his quarterbacks was wild. So let's get to more clips because I really liked what Mike McGlinchey said in the locker room, talking about Bo Nix and how he captured the locker room and how he did it so quickly into his tenure. Let's hear from Big Mike.
Once we got around him in the building for a week or two, a couple weeks in April, you're like, oh man, this kid's made of the right stuff. And obviously when you're in shorts in April and May and doing OTA practices, you really can't tell what kind of a football player he is really until we get into August and when we put the pads on and all that kind of stuff. And I will say that from right away, Bo captured this locker room by the way that he works, by the person that he is, and the way that he progressed. It takes a lot of hard work to get better week in and week out, and it takes a lot of focus, and a lot of guys aren't ready to commit themselves to that. And I think Bo is certainly our shining example of that, and it permeated through our locker room. And I think the improvement from him going forward is just going to be exponential.
That is huge right there. The improvement's going to be exponential, but I have a nickname from Mike McGlinchey for Bo Nix. Bo Shining Example Nix. What do you think?
That's terrible.
Because he's a shining example. I mean, that was waxing poetic. Like you rarely hear about a guy, and I just wanted to play that one because I think that isn't just team speak. It's not just player speak. It's not just teammate speak. I think that really showed how much Mike really loves Bo and how that is the entire locker room really getting around him. Of course, voting him a captain as a rookie. You never see that happen. And coming from the Bill Parcells background that Sean Payton does, the Bill Parcells thing is rookies got to earn everything. And so I don't think Sean was just going to hand that rookie to Bo or the captainship to Bo. I really do think his teammates saw that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm not surprised they played through it, because we all know Bo. Like, there's no way if something hurts that's going to stop him from going playing football. Like, that would have been shocking to me if he was like, yeah, I just couldn't play through the pain. That's not Bo Nix. And, like, that's Bo in every way. Like, he works hard. He doesn't speak like he's 24 years old. Like, he's an adult who gets what this job is. And, like, that's just Bo. We've known Bo for a long time now.
Yep.
None of this comes as a surprise.
Yep. It's just Bo. So let's Bo, baby.
Yes.
That's kind of a nickname for him.
Bo?
Yeah. No. Let's Bo. LFB. Bo leave.
Just Bo.
Those are all nicknames surrounding him there.
Just Bo.
Let's hear from Bolles. Garrett Bolles. Talking about Bo Nix as well, because these are the linemen that protect him. And I think what they say means a lot, especially veterans like McGlinchey and Garrett. So let's hear from Bolles now.
I think we've done a lot of great things this year. We made the postseason for the first time in 8 years in my career since I've been here. That just tells you how old I am. But no, this team is special, man. I think we have a lot of special dudes. I think we have a young quarterback, which, when you have a quarterback in this league, you can go a long ways. And I think he's just, scratching the surface of what he can do for this team. We have playmakers, we have ballers on this team. We have guys that want to be successful, that want to go as far as we can. Obviously yesterday is a game that, none of us want to be a part of. We got smacked right in our faces. And there's only, there's two ways you can look at it. You either can look down and just let it drag you down and, everything that we built this year and we get into next year and just we fall apart, or we can look at this and we can build upon it. And I think that's what all of us want to do is we want to build upon it. We want to be successful. We want to continue to work harder. Starts in the off season on how we train, and we go from there.
Got to see Bolles' new haircut there too. And not just haircut, but hair color as well that he debuted for the playoffs. But one of the things that Garrett said there was, man, when you have a quarterback, you truly believe. And that is something that started this season and that really permeated throughout the locker room was, man, we believe because we've got our quarterback. But in all honesty, like Sean talked about how important that belief is. This was before Bo was good, too. It was early in the offseason, I think right after they got Bo. And Sean just said, man, when you don't have a quarterback, your team knows. As coaches, you can't convince the team that you have a quarterback when you don't. They know. And when you have a quarterback, the team knows. And the team knows that in any situation you can come back from, that you can beat any team when you walk into a game. And I think Bo going into Kansas City and getting the Broncos back on track and driving the team down to perfect execution for that last second field goal, draining 6 minutes off the clock, getting them for what, a 8-yard field goal, something like that, very manageable. And then obviously we know how it finished, but I think that's when the team said, okay, we just went into the back-to-back defending Super Bowl champions' house and should have beat them. And a big reason was because of this kid driving down in a huge drive. Okay, we believe that we can be in any single game.
Yeah. I know. I just would have been nice if they'd won that one. Because then you're not talking about how, like, we can have that feeling, but at the same time, they only beat 2 teams with winning records. One with the Bucs at the beginning of the year, and then when they beat the Chiefs 38-zip. And so as much as I have that feeling, too. They also beat
the Falcons.
They finished 8-9.
Oh, when they played them, they were a winning team, though.
Okay. Well, sure.
Yeah.
But again, but when you look back at the end of the year, and they just... I have that same feeling where it's like, yep, you're in any game because Bo is that good. It would just be nice to have a little bit of evidence of that, you know? And if they had just made that kick against the Chiefs, then all this would feel different. The stats would feel it just...
With Bo,
you just got to need... At some point, he needs to go pull that off.
He did, though.
But they didn't finish it. They didn't win.
But that was
goes down as a loss
nothing
still.
on him,
No,
though.
it wasn't. But it's still a loss.
When I look at that game, that was an unbelievably successful game from Bo, in my opinion.
Definitely.
Unbelievably successful.
Yeah.
So when I'm just looking at Bo, that game was a win.
I mean, I just don't know what that means, though. Like, it's just...
I think it means that the team... that's when they saw, okay, we can compete with anyone with this.
I think
kid.
that's what everybody saw for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
But again,
that's a massive win for him.
It would just be nice if the stats didn't say they only beat the 2 teams with the winning record, and it was the one in September against the Bucs, and then the one at the end of the as much as it feels like you're in every game, all of a sudden like the Ravens game and the Bills game, like those gaps still are there.
Yeah, and what also happened in those games, that wasn't just the
it's
Bo
not
Nix
Bo's
not
fault.
having a good game. That was the defense
Definitely.
got torched for 41 points
Totally.
against the Ravens. That was the defense getting torched for 31 points against the Bills as well.
But eventually, like, that's still the next step is like you got to start beating good teams.
Of course there's a next step, but I also think going into Kansas City and what Bo did was a moral victory for a team that was supposed to go 5-5 or have a 500 or be 5.5 wins this past year. Going into Kansas City and doing what he did to put them in a position to win was huge. All right, we got a super chat that we got to hit before we get out of here, and it's coming in from our friend Brandon, who says, our defense was the Death Star, destructive and intimidating, but were ultimately destroyed by precise attacks.
Yeah. I'm curious what they do with that defense. Because I'm not sure if they're going to say, like, it needs to be coached better, or if they need better pieces here or there, or what it's going to be. Because it's just kind of tough to figure out what exactly happened. Because some weeks they were really good. Other weeks they were not good at all. So, yeah, maybe it is the Death Star.
We'll definitely dive into this with Todd in the next 10 days or so, just about how concerned are you about the defense. Because, Henry, I think the defense might have done a full circle since the start of the Vance Joseph era. The defense started really bad. We know that it was capped off by the 70-point performance. Then it got really good at the end of the season. Then it started really good this season. And then it ended pretty bad, pretty tough. The final month, 5 weeks of the season here. And I am curious to see if Vance Joseph gets a head coaching job. We'll talk about that too. If not, do they make any changes on the coaching staff to make it get better? Do they invest a lot on defense, or is it really all going to be on offense? And then instead of relying on a defense like the Broncos have for 10 years, is it going to be, okay, we're actually relying on the offense next year. We need the offense to be a top 5 offense, and the defense can drop off and be a mid. It can be a 15th best defense in the NFL.
They definitely won't be planning for a drop-off. I guarantee that.
If they invest a lot more in the offense than the defense, then they won't admit it. Sean's not going to come out and say, we expect a worse defense, but they'll be admitting it with their actions there.
I doubt it.
If you invest your first and second round pick on offense, you go out and you spend more money on offense in free agency than defense, you have to be expecting a drop off.
I don't think so. I mean, what did they do last year? Who's second round last year? Because
they did not have a second round pick.
That's right. So didn't get defense first or second. Invested. They got rid of Justin Simmons.
Yep.
Added Brandon Jones. So downgrade there, and they still got better.
I don't think that'll be the case this year, though.
Okay.
I think it'll be very clear what their direction is, and we'll see what that is. But before we get out of here, let's read some nicknames that people have for Bo Nix. Here we go from TB007. Built Toyota Tough. Bo Throw No Picks Nix. Bo-rific. Bodacious TDs Nix. Bo for show Nix. The Bonator. D-Bo. Maybe if the Broncos get Debo Samuel this offseason.
Debo is from Friday, the show, the movie. The guy's named Debo. He's the big bad.
Oh, I thought it was Debo Samuel reference. Bo Nomis Nix. Bo Normus Nix. Big Nix Energy. Nickname for Bo. Built Bo Tough. Like a different one. Deputy Bo. Big Dix Nix with a D-I-X. Built Yoda Tough. Built Bo Tematic Nix. Can you help me there, you hear? No?
I think it's supposed to be like automatic.
Bo Rocket Nix, Bronco Bo, and we'll end off there. Thank you all so much for your suggestions there. Henry didn't like them.
No.
I loved them, and we're going to be back tomorrow. Likely 10 a.m., but make sure to stay tuned to our updates on Twitter because Broncos, like I said, have that season-ending press conference tomorrow, and we'll see what time that is and build our schedule around that. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. We appreciate you all. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.